Hello everybody and welcome back to Sai Knows the Score, where I have woken up in a bit of a panic today, where I work nights as well, amongst everything else that is going on in life right now between buying houses and all that process and minor surgery, and there's all sorts of stuff going on at this moment, so I do apologise. I genuinely thought I had a bit more time to be able to get this video uploaded about 9 or 10 o'clock tonight, and that was a bit of an improvement to the last couple of weeks. And then it turns out, I looked at my phone this morning to look at Champions League games, and then I saw Wolves versus Arsenal. I was like, no way, they're actually randomly playing tonight there, so I couldn't believe it. And so I woke up, scoffed breakfast down, literally doing this video now and trying to get it up, recorded and edited before I start my night shift tonight at 9 o'clock and try and give a decent video. So without further ado, please slap a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and comment your predictions below, and we'll kick things off for Game Week 27, even though I believe this might have been actually Game Week 26. But anyway, we'll class it as Game Week 27, Wolves versus Arsenal. And look, we all know Wolves are going down. They're on 9 points. What Wolves want is to not be the new history makers for the lowest points tally in the Premier League. So they need 1 win or 3 draws to surpass Derby's 11 points in a single season. Can I see that happening? Yeah, surely they do. Surely at some point this season that is going to happen. But is that going to happen against Arsenal? You would imagine not. Now, look, at the Emirates, it was a very tight game, wasn't it? Where Wolves thought they were going to get a draw, didn't they? And then all of a sudden, Arsenal, in the dying embers of the game, went and scored, didn't they? And you could say it was a bit unjust, actually. You could say that Wolves probably did deserve a point, at least there, didn't you? But anyway, not to be. Now, Arsenal, in the Premier League last time out, they drew away at Brentford, which was a really good result for myself and another viewer as well, in the chat, where it wasn't looking too great in terms of the points that week. We were on 4 points, and then all of a sudden, probably one of the most unlikely results that happened was Brentford Arsenal drawing 1-1, which gave us 9 points for not the best of weeks last week. But look, it came in. Arsenal at a tricky GTEC stadium where Brentford are top 6 in the home table. So it's not the worst result. They're still 4 points clear at the top, aren't there? 2 on the goal difference. Well, we've got 2 more on the goal difference over Man City, so not atrocious. They'll move on. They'll get 3 points here. It'll be 2-0, relatively comfortable. On to the next one for the Gunners. Aston Villa versus Leeds United, and Aston Villa have got another win at home against another home win, and it was against Brighton, 1-0, wasn't it? So it's, even though Brighton aren't in great form, got to get it over the line. But prior to that, they did lose against 10-man Brentford and Everton at home at Villa Park. So just to get another win on the board at home was big, especially because now that gap between 3rd, 4th and 5th is now really become more compact. There's only 5 points between themselves and 4th place Man United, and 6 points between themselves and 5th place Chelsea. So if they're looking to cement that Champions League position, they need to get Villa Park rocking again until the end of the season. Leeds United with a very undeserved draw at Stamford Bridge, wasn't it? With a 2-0 down, and all of a sudden Chelsea, maybe being a young and inexperienced team, just completely let it slip, didn't they? And I couldn't believe the collapse and how Cole Palmer missed that 0.999999 XG chance was, beyond everyone, wasn't it, really? Definitely a miss of the season for sure. But what I would say is, and I'll try to be very unbiased here because Leeds are my team, which I know I'm going to get a lot of boos and scum and all that good stuff. But with Leeds, I feel like there's been a lot more games where we've been unlucky than lucky. You know, there's been a few losses and a few draws where we could have had more points by now. I think we could be 11-4-12 in the league based on performances in matches. So we could be up there with Sunderland and Fulham. But it's not to be, and that's the Premier League. You get punished, don't you, if you don't take your chances or if you're lacking a decent goalkeeper in the net. So that's how it has been for Leeds, really. Now, this game here is going to be relatively tight. Leeds, I'm hoping they don't go into a low block because that's when they're absolute worst. And you could even see Villa score 2 or 3 for sure. If that's the case, we do what we did at Stamford Bridge. But hopefully they'll come out with a bit more fight. I think Aston Villa, you can guess that. You can have more control of the ball. So I'm going to go 2-1. I'm going to go 2-1 to Aston Villa. Nearly had you there, didn't I? Aston Villa to win 2-1. It'll be very tight and narrow, but at home, sure they'll get over the line, and that's to be the final score. Brentford versus Brighton, and Brentford, as we just established, very, very good at home, where, look, they're still knocking on that door out there for Europe, and they're trying to climb up and try and get that European spot. I'm just having a look here at the table. How realistic is it? Fairly realistic for sure. They've got a few clubs around them though. They're on 40 points, 3 points clear of the next one, Everton in 8th. And slash Bournemouth too, I suppose, which is surprising after their struggles up until recently. And then you've got Liverpool in front of them. So look, it's absolutely doable. Can you see it happening? If they're going to get anything, they're going to get the conference spot out there. But even then, it seems unlikely. I still think Newcastle's going to come and turn it around at some point, or anyone else. Everton, can they? I mean, the home form just seems a little bit weak, doesn't it, for them to get into that spot? And Brentford's home form is very good. Top 5 or 6 out in the league for home form. So yeah, it's looking very promising and good. And if they can, sustain that form till the end of the season, then absolutely they can get in that 7th position. Can't they? Even 6th, because they're only 2 points behind Liverpool, shockingly. Now, with Brighton, a bit of a contrast here when we're looking at those. Could they go down? Could Hurtsler be getting the sack very soon? Look, they have not won in a while now, have they? I mean, the last win was against Burnley on the 3rd of January. And prior to that, the 30th of November. So they've had one win in the Premier League since the 30th of November, which is pretty mad considering I shockingly went Brighton to try and get into a European spot this season. What a dunce, what an idiot. Give me that dunce cap. Put myself in the corner of the room with shame, because not a great prediction, it seems. I have my logic and reasons behind it, but we'll get onto that at the end of the season when we come down to the breaking down my predictions for the end of league table for the season. So this one here, I think fairly straightforward. Brighton will keep it somewhat tight, but Brentford will get over the line here, and 2-1 to be the final score. Chelsea versus Burnley, and look, as we just established before, Chelsea shockingly ended up with a draw, 2-2 at Stamford Bridge against Leeds somehow. Now, look, Chelsea are obviously in the running here for top 4, top 5. They are 5th placed and look well equipped to do just that. Rafinha has been doing very well for them so far, and they're playing against Burnley, who shockingly overturned a 2-goal deficit at Selhurst Park and were 3-2 up at half time, and it remained 3-2. So out of nowhere, they have just got a win. And I didn't envision it whatsoever. Sean Larson with 2 on the scoreboard. But look, Burnley did it. They got a win, and we saw how emotional Scott Parker got. And he, could you see an upturn here? Could that instill a bit of confidence in this Burnley team? I don't think so. Can they get something here at Stamford Bridge? I mean, Leeds did, but I think Burnley and Leeds, even though they're both newly promoted teams, there's a bit of a gap, isn't there, in terms of how they've been performing this season. So I think it'd be relatively comfortable. There's an argument for 2-0, argument for 3-0. I think Chelsea and Rafinha are going to have fire in the belly after how they drew last game, and I'm going to go with a 3-0 cruising for Chelsea. West Ham versus Bournemouth. And West Ham just about got over the line in the FA Cup, didn't they, against Burton, going to extra time. But they did it. They definitely did it. Now, we all know West Ham's form has also increased, where we're seeing them, they've got a draw against Man United, probably a bit unlucky not to have won the last game, to be honest with you. Beat Burnley, lost at Chelsea, which was a bit disappointing for them, because considering the 2 goals up. Beat Sunderland and Spurs all in the last month. So, fair play to West Ham. And this is going to make it very interesting for who goes down and what points tally it will take for that said team to go down. Will it be West Ham? Will it be Forest? Will it be Spurs? Will it be Leeds? Will it be Brighton? Or will it be Palace? There are so many teams now, and that bottom of the table battle is really something special, doesn't it? Or it could be something very special if West Ham remain with this form, and if Forest turn their form around as well with Vitor Pereira. Now, Bournemouth also with an upturn of form, where they hadn't won in a long time either, and they're really struggling with form. All of a sudden, the last 5 games or so, really turned it around, haven't they? Find themselves back up to 9th position. And that's the thing, if you just go on a bit of a run, you can fly up that table, can't you? And even teams such as Brighton, Leeds, Forest, Spurs, of course, they could all fight the table. All they need to do, win 3 in a row with maybe a draw in there, boom, you're already back in the top, 10, aren't you, basically, because it's that tight. Now, this game here, we know Bournemouth like to pepper shots at the opposition goal. It's just, will they concede more goals than they score, or will they score more goals than they concede? I think here, the upturn of form for both West Ham and Bournemouth could make this a bit of an interesting game, but I'm going to go with an entertaining 2-2 draw down at the London Stadium. Manchester City versus Newcastle, and it feels like these two are going to be playing each other about 25 times this season, doesn't have to just draw each other in the FA Cup. But look, Man City, as we know, upturn of form, haven't they? Again, and very much on the tail of Arsenal, where it could go down to that final game of the season, and it could go down to goal difference. So, yeah, let's look out for that. Could it be a repeat of the 2011-2012 season with Man United there, where it literally goes down to goal difference? We will soon see. Now, on the flip side, when we look at Newcastle, again, inconsistent, and they are 10th in the league, which does show very inconsistency, doesn't it? They're very inconsistent. Oh my goodness, I can't get my words out. So, look, they beat Spurs away, which I suppose is okay, but I don't know what you'd say about that one. But the form before that hasn't been great, has it? So they definitely needed a win there. Beat Villa in the FA Cup after they went down to 10 men. So, yeah, I think Man City do have Newcastle's number. They do generally struggle at the Etihad in particular. I think this will be relatively comfortable for Man City, and I'm going to go 3-1 to the Citizens. Crystal Palace versus Wolves, and a bit of a tricky one to predict. I mean, look, we've already got Wolves already in this particular thread of predictions, but look, Crystal Palace, I see them maybe getting out of it still. I mean, they are 8 points clear, so you think they probably are going to be safe. But losing to Burnley hasn't helped them there. You think they'll win that game, and then they'll look pretty much out of the relegation zone topic, wouldn't you? But that wasn't to be, and they still find themselves just about still in there, don't they? Sean Larson, as we mentioned before, got 2 goals. Can he find his feet and his form, scoring pretty much most games now? Against his former team here as well, which you do imagine he will start in if there's no, which there isn't any Mateta. So look, can he score against them? I mean, it would be fascinating if he does. But again, Wolves are playing Arsenal. You envision that they would have lost that game by the time this one comes around. Can they get a point or a win here? Yes, I believe that they probably can do, especially if Burnley did it. Then there's no reason why no other team could do it. You've got to go, though, that Palace will still do something. Maybe it was a kick up the bum as well that they lost to Burnley, and the fire, again, similar to Chelsea, is lit within their belly. And I'm going to go with a relatively comfortable 2-0 win for Crystal Palace. Nottingham Forest versus Liverpool. And look, Nottingham Forest, Mr. Marinakis, has now moved on to his 4th manager of the season with Vitor Pereira. And look, they have a busy fixture period coming up. They've got Fenerbahce twice. I think it's tomorrow by day of recording. It will be tomorrow that they are playing them, and then they've got Liverpool as well just after, where Liverpool actually have a gap. So, look, Forest, you think maybe a bit of a manager bounce again? Surely. No one has any idea of how they're going to do now under Pereira or Dyche and his style of football, which, the Forest fans, and you can understand why, weren't particularly pleased with, but look, you've got to stay up, and that is the priority. Are they capable of getting a draw here after playing just on the Thursday night against a fresh Liverpool team? Yeah, it's possible. I mean, look, Liverpool, as we know, looking at the form again here, beat Sunderland away, giving them their first defeat at the Stadium of Light in the Premier League this season. Did lose the dying embers of the game against Man City, but look, again, they're taking the confidence from the Sunderland game. You think here, it's a really difficult one. If Forest didn't have that midweek fixture, I'd be very tempted to go with a draw. Now I'm thinking a fresh Liverpool team. I mean, I'm hoping for Leeds United that Liverpool do get the win here. I'm sure West Ham more so as well. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'm going to have to go with a 2. It's really difficult, isn't it? A 2-1 Liverpool win, I'm going to go with. I can see why people might go with a draw here. But 2-1, the final score to Liverpool. Sunderland versus Fulham. And as we just mentioned there, Sunderland's unbeaten run at home in the Premier League has come to an end against Liverpool. So on paper, there's no shame in that, is there? You would have thought, well, they've got over the line against Arsenal, Man City, even got over the line against Leeds United. And had that unbeaten run, didn't they? But no, look, there's no shame. 1 loss at home all season so far in 12 or 13 matches. You can't complain, can you, as a Sunderland fan? So look, they are almost safe. Just another win and a couple draws, and then they are cemented out there. You can't see them going down anyway at this point, given that they are 12 points ahead. But it's always in the back of your mind, and especially if you're a fan of your team, you want to get over 40 odd points. So if you know you get to 42 points, because it could be as high as that this season to stay up, who knows, then you know that you're basically safe. So just another 2 wins for Sunderland, they'll be buzzing, and if they can even push on and go for a European spot, then why the hell not, you know? Why not indeed? Now, look, they beat Oxford United away in the FA Cup 1-0, tight game. Very tight game. And yeah, I think here against Fulham, who have been better, haven't they? Especially since before during the African Cup of Nations, where the form has suddenly improved. But look, they have taken a bit of a tumble recently. They've lost 3 in a row in the Premier League, and they've lost 4 out of the last 5. So, Fulham, you are on 34 points, 10 points clear. You should be okay. There's enough there. You've got Marco Silva at the helm. Surely stay up. I think this will be a tight game though. Do Fulham score? Generally, I would say, yeah. I mean, look, Sunderland, very tight out there at the back, and they don't score a lot, they don't concede a lot. Could it be 1-0? I think 1-0 could be a good shout. It'd be 1-0 or 2-1. I think given it could be tight, I'm going to go 1-0 to Sunderland here to be the final score for that one. Spurs versus Arsenal. And we have Mr. Tudor at the helm now, don't we? Where he is renowned to be a bit of a firefighter, isn't he? Putting out the flames in, I think, 6 clubs now. He's quite a number of clubs anyway. He's done well, hasn't he? I think 6 out of 7 clubs it is, where he's actually accomplished what he was set out to achieve. So, on paper, you're thinking, okay, maybe you could do something here, but he's renowned to be a bit of a, in the politest way, a bit of a nutter. So, yeah, it could work for Spurs, or it could not work for Spurs. He's more of a De Zerbi type of manager, I suppose, in that sense, when you're trying to compare people. So, look, Spurs could be looking at a De Zerbi type manager, and this could be a good, shall we say, test for that, maybe? So, look, I'm going to say here, first of all, he's got to turn the home form around, hasn't he? He's got to do that. He's definitely got to do that. Is he going to do that in the London derby here, though, against Arsenal? In a big rivalry? Big ass. Look, maybe Spurs do better against the bigger teams. You know, those that are near the top. They drew with Man City 2-2 after a dreadful first half, came back and got 2 goals. They can absolutely do something here against Arsenal, especially in a derby game. Anything can happen, can't it? Is that going to be the case, you know, given Arsenal and their, I say form, but, you know, they don't really lose many games, do they? Can they draw? Yes, I think if there's anything going to happen here, it could be a draw. But I'm going to say here, given how dreadful Spurs' home form is, will there be enough of the manager bounce here to get something? I don't think so. I'm going to go 2-1-2 the Gunners here, and I think they'll push on and be on 60 points come the end of this game week. Everton versus Manchester United, and we are at the Hill Dickey Stadium once more, where Everton do tend to struggle to get wins, and they're very, very far down at the table, the home form table anyway. So, yeah, Everton, you've just lost recently to Bournemouth at home, you've drawn to Leeds at home, and you've drawn to Wolves at home. So it's either looking like draw or loss, doesn't it, really, here for Everton, especially against a rejuvenated Man United under Michael Carrick, where, yes, they scraped a draw, didn't they, away at West Ham. West Ham are in better form than Everton right now. So it's definitely something to consider. It's Everton, Man U, they're always tight affairs, aren't they? How do I see this going here for the final game of the game week? I don't think it'll be overly entertaining. Could be wrong, but I see this either being like a 1-0 or a narrow 2-1. Could you see a draw 1-1? I've contemplated it, but I think Man United will win here. I think the manager bounce again, keep them ticking over. I think Everton away is, for some reason right now, an easier fixture than West Ham away. So on that basis, I'm going to give Man United the win here and nick it 2-1. And that ends game week 27, where we've got randomly 11 games this week. And yep, I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you thought of my predictions below. Pop in your predictions too. Slap a like on the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new and if you'd like to. And until the next one, have a great week and weekend. Bye for now.